Welcome, fellas, to episode 9 of 5 p.m. at Monty's. With Spiked Rob, I'm Cheddar Bobby, brought to you by Pro Sports Extra. How are we doing today?
Win's a win, baby. 1 point,
Win.
10 points. Win's a win.
Win's a win. We were underdogs, people forget. And so it's not like everyone thought we were going to win the game. We did. We knew it was going to be a close battle, but when you go to Blacksburg away, you'll take what you can get.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, we watched it live stream. I know I was a little busy in and out, but I saw how close the game was, but I honestly felt comfortable, not comfortable, but I felt like, okay, we've seen this before. I've seen this movie before. I really feel like we're going to be okay. If they had gone up like more than two scores, then I would have been like, oh shit, we're really not going to win this. But being within striking distance in the second half, I was like, you know what? I think we have plenty of time. We just need to go down and score a touchdown, which we did. And then I'm like, all right, one more time. And I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be able to stop this team. Of course, they made it even closer than I thought. That freaking Virginia Tech still had the ball at the end of the game really bothers me. But I was like, we can do this. We've done it before. I'm expecting this team to pull out the close win, and it's a great thing to see.
So that's multiple weeks in a row I've almost had a heart attack at the end of the game, and it's taken years off my life already. I'm just hoping that this is the last time like this and that they can learn from these close wins, that maybe they should not take teams for granted. But we'll see. It feels a lot like 2017 when we just had so many close wins.
It does, but I think, have taken a step forward in our coaching. Now, not across the board, obviously, but Manny would have lost these games last year. I mean, he did lose these games last year. He lost these close games. If Manny had won the close games that were, or the after the bye week, those things, he probably would have had a very similar record. And we would have been like, oh man, I don't know about this. So this is progress because of who our head coach is. When it was Mark Richt, you're like, man, you've been doing this a long, long time. Like, you should be able to polish it up and make it look better week to week. But he also didn't really have, in my opinion, all the talent that he needed on offense. And it showed at the end of the season. When the wheels fell off, they fell off hard. But I know we've got the talent. It's obvious. I mean, when a guy steps up on our team, it's not just he steps up for our team. He's the ACC player of the week every single week. The guy who steps up on offense or defense ends up being far and away the best player in the ACC that week, with the exception of maybe Clemson or Notre Dame, maybe. But Jalen Phillips, ACC player of the week. So I know we have the talent there. We just can't be consistent with any of our stuff. And it is tough to watch in that regard, but at least someone's stepping up every week.
Yeah, as you said, Manny, I do see improvement in his coaching, which is definitely makes me happy. And talking about Jalen Phillips, he had a hell of a game. He was a monster out there. He played 72 out of the 75 snaps on the team. Shout out to David Feely, by the way. You can see everyone's cardio is crazy. Everyone's in shape, and it's paying off. Quincy Roche played 75 snaps. He didn't come off the field.
Well, and that's part of the issue with COVID, which obviously got worse, and that's why we're not going to have a game next week, or for the next couple weeks. But we were missing 13 players, and pretty much half the defensive line rotation was out because of COVID. So we had some rotation, but those guys were basically had to play the whole game. And yeah, their cardio was fantastic, especially not having a spring. I mean, there was not enough time. All I guess these guys could do on their own time was get prepared and get in shape. And I'm glad that they did. And I definitely give a lot of credit to Feely for making sure these guys were ready. It's one of the things that, we could talk about in terms of strategy, but when you're better conditioned than the other team, you should be playing strategies that emphasize that. It's like playing full court press in basketball. You have to use what you have to your advantage. So,
yeah, and I'd put David Feely right up there with Alabama's strength coach and all the elite schools because you can see the difference it makes. It's very underrated.
it is. And it's crazy how, with all that, our receivers are still very small, just so small. And all these other guys they're getting big, and I just don't understand it. But
Yeah, we'll get into the receivers later. Continuing on the D line, Nesta had a good game too, especially in the second half. The whole
Always.
unit played great. We miss Harrison Hunt out there, but they pulled it together. John Ford maybe had his best game of the year, I think.
I would agree with that. I mean, they talked about it last week and said he had a great game, and we were just like, I didn't see it. It wasn't that he wasn't out there; it was that he was making some bad reads off the line. He would go wide instead of like we don't run stunt blitzes or anything like that, and he would just kind of get out of position. He'd take himself out of position. And I watched him 2 or 3 times, especially on the big, like noteworthy plays where he swallowed up guys. He came straight through the linemen, didn't waver at all. Like it was almost Vince Wilfork in how he was just going to be in the backfield and you could not keep him out. And that was great to see because we didn't have Harrison Hunt to spell him. And Ford is a senior. It's great to see these guys still improving week to week, even in their 4th and 5th year. And if he knows what it feels like now to be that dominant run stopping, like D tackle that we need, if he's going to be that guy for the rest of the year, or even next year if he wanted to stay next year. I don't think he will, but technically speaking, if we don't have any other games the rest of the year and he knows what it looks like, what it feels like, he would be a perfect complement for Nesta, and then swapping in Harrison Hunt to go blitz and all of that. Then the rotation makes sense. But the reads weren't there early in the year. The effort wasn't there earlier. He was just not seeing the play, and he would just kind of sit and watch. Like he wouldn't really push up the field or try to take a gap. And he did that all day against Virginia Tech. And it helps that we knew Virginia Tech was going to run the ball a lot, but my man was aggressive and he could not be denied. I guess he's his own worst enemy. I could say that about most of our defense, honestly. They're their own worst enemy.
It's all mental with our defense. And
Yes.
for Ford, he only has 3 games left this year. If we play those 3 games at bowl game, if I don't know if at this point with COVID it's going to happen. But if he wants to go to the league next year, he's going to have to step it up. So maybe he's feeling the pressure.
Well, he knows, again, maybe he just didn't know what it really felt like to be that kind of guy. I mean, I know he's played with Nesta in the past, but Nesta had injuries, stuff like that. I kind of feel like Ford early in the season, and I'd have to check the tape to be sure, but it always seemed like he was trying to go for the quarterback, and that's not his role. His role is to take a gap. His role is to take 2 of the guys in front of him, and when Nesta's the one being double teamed every week, that's just not a good look. But now people are going to have to take him because one-on-one, he's big enough. Ford could beat anybody in the ACC one-on-one at least 50% of the time. Some guys, it's only going to be 50% because they're great and they're going to play in the NFL. Fine, fair enough. But he's big enough, he's strong enough, and apparently conditioned enough because he played a fuck ton of snaps too, that he should be able to go toe-to-toe with any of those guys over the course of a game and really get in their heads and get offensive coordinators to have to account for him. And the fact that it's taken this long, I think, is more of a mental thing, not a physical thing. And now that he knows what it's like to be that guy, I think we'll see it for the rest of the year, at least a more consistent floor where he's in the mix all the time. He may not get the tackle, but he's disrupting running plays. He's pushing in the center, and it's not just Nesta and Jalen really having to do everything on that line. And, of course, Quincy, too, having to cover up, which is what I saw all through, up through NC State. It was Quincy having to make the plays and not Ford or the middle linebackers behind him. So,
For sure. Moving on to the linebackers, Sam Brooks, I'm impressed. He still has his rookie mistakes, but he's definitely growing, and I wouldn't say maybe he's like as good as Zach McLeod yet. I'd personally play him more, but you can definitely see the growth in him.
yeah, again, mental mistakes only. I would say that he is so much quicker, so much faster than not just McLeod, but Jennings too. They played him in the middle linebacker position for Jennings, and I thought that was a great move because we don't really have a good middle linebacker. I'm sorry. Bradley, like when Bradley Jennings is on, he is a good linebacker, straight up, just all around good linebacker. But he makes so many errors, mental or physical or whatever, on a regular basis that I'm kind of just like, I have almost PTSD at this point from expecting him to make plays or just be in the right position more than 50% of the time in the course of a game. So they put Sam out there, and he made a couple mistakes, some very big mistakes. He allowed the big touchdown run. I mean, it was his error that created that. You could see him getting better game to game. You could see him still trying to read and react, still trying to process the mental stuff and getting faster at it. He'll make mistakes in what he reads, but at least he's going through those steps, those keys every single time. I just don't see Bradley doing that on a regular basis. With that said, I say all those bad things. Jennings had a good game. He had a pass deflection. He had a tackle for a loss. He probably had his best game this season against Virginia Tech. And again, it helps that we knew they were going to run a lot, so he was able to commit to that. And two, he didn't have to play middle linebacker the whole time. They moved him around. Jennings came in as an outside linebacker. He was an outside linebacker recruit, as was Zach McLeod, and someone has to play middle linebacker. And again, should he be better? I think so. But at the same time, if he's not better, you are playing him out of position, and your inside linebackers coach is also our defensive coordinator. I'm going to have to put more on Baker there than on Bradley. But it is really painful to watch. I mean, even with Virginia Tech, they scored a couple inside the red zone. At least two of those, Bradley was out of position. And so just how we go is how Bradley Jennings goes. When we have really bad errors in run defense, it's 90% of the time because Bradley is not in position. So it's tough, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, he did have a good game for that, but we're not going to be playing a running team like BT for the rest of the year, so I don't know how much more playing time he's going to get, you know?
Well, they're still going to give him playing time. You know this.
I know. I guess Georgia Tech's with Sims runs, but
yeah, but we just know that's going to happen. You know, I mean, they're not going to not play Bradley and Zach at the end of the year.
It's frustrating.
It is, but at least they said Sam gets more snaps now. He's going to be playing more. I mean, he had a great sack on the quarterback with Jalen, of course. But, I mean, just some great penetration and pressure from the middle linebacker position because he's just so much faster. And it's phenomenal to see.
So how about Frierson as striker? I feel like he had a pretty good game, huh?
Frierson is a great all-around player. At this point, I mean, we talked about it earlier in the season. I think we were on point. Frierson as the striker, he is in the tailor-made spot to be the star of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that everybody else around him has also stepped up. We've got obviously Jalen Phillips having a great game. All these guys is great. But whoever plays striker for Miami, at least in this defense, will always be the key to how electrifying, how dynamic our defense is going to be. Part of that, of course, is always going to be the play calling, but they leave Frierson out kind of on an island. He has, all the way back against Clemson, he was the one covering Etienne out of the backfield. They give him the hardest jobs, and he, I think, really got that, and he has fully embraced it, and he is so happy to be playing football for Miami right now. It's phenomenal to watch, and I'm just glad to see that we can expect a high level of play from our striker position every single week.
It makes me so happy, man, his improvement. It's one of the biggest highlights for me this whole season because I've loved him as a recruit, and he didn't have the best couple of beginning years at Miami, but watching him glorify now is just awesome.
Yeah, and because he is that striker where he can kind of do everything and be all over the field, he really does have a legitimate shot to go in the NFL I look at other guys that are not even as good all around as he is and are making it in the NFL. Rayshawn Jenkins is someone who comes to my mind from Miami who is more of a cover guy, and they're out there playing him as a safety, but he's basically a rover in that San Diego defense. Frierson is actually what Rayshawn plays now. And so I can see him absolutely, just from some of the plays he's made earlier in the year in pass defense all the way through. He got 2 sacks this past week. All of that put together makes him kind of like a baby honey badger that any team with a dynamic defense is going to want out there. They're going to want him on their roster. So I'm very happy for him in that regard because he deserves all the credit, and he absolutely should be catching people's eyes as a mid-round draft pick if he wants to go.
Yeah, shout out Rayshawn Jenkins, by the way. I love that dude. I think one of the reasons, though, by the way, that they're using him more in Rover is because Derwin James is out. But
yeah, for sure,
would have to if he was in.
Yeah, well, he's more of a corner slash true safety. That's what Rayshawn played for us. He didn't play a rover position. We didn't really have a striker position when he was playing. We did, but it wasn't as well defined as it is now. So I'm saying the fact that he could translate his skills to the NFL in that way, when that wasn't even what he was focused on, I absolutely see a high ceiling for Gilbert and the NFL for a team that is looking for it.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot more uses for safeties playing it like closer to the line of scrimmage in today's NFL than you did in the past.
Yeah, I wish that our team did that.
Yeah, like sort of Jamal Adams is sort of like that, even though he's not having the best season. But
Mhm.
so, what do you think? There's also sort of rumors sometimes on Twitter that I hear Amari Carter could like switch to linebacker, like not from and nothing official, but like, what do you think? What would you think about that, especially maybe for next year? Because I don't want him playing safety next year, and we don't have any linebacker recruits. Well, we have one that's like sort of like a D end guy, Thomas Davis. But I don't, not that I know of off the top of my head, we don't have any top linebacker recruits, and he's big enough. And we have James Williams and Avante coming back next year, so I don't know why we would start him at safety. If he wants to start, he should move.
He should. One of the things, I mean, I wrote a whole article and we talked about it last week where I was convinced and still am convinced that Manny took over the play calling in the fourth quarter. I think he did it with Virginia Tech as well, but it's Manny's philosophy that took over in the fourth quarter in both games. And they came out in a sub package against, well, not this week, but the week before, against NC State, where Amari was the middle linebacker. Like they brought him into a linebacker position straight up, but we had a sub package. We had all, like I told you about it, we had all five of our defensive backs were out there outside of Amari. So technically, we had six defensive backs out there, but they were playing, very close to the line. And then we still had our safeties over the top with Gervin and Bubba, but they were only like 10 yards off the ball instead of 15, and we got 2 sacks and pressure and all sorts all sorts of shit came out of that sub package. I think it's brilliant against teams that play a spread offense. That should be the only thing we're playing against them, and keeping Amari out there but closer to the line, especially if they have a running quarterback. I don't think any running quarterback in the country wants to be scrambling for his life from all of our defensive ends and then seeing Amari Carter coming at him from 5 yards away.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great place to put him. I don't think he's going to be a traditional linebacker by any stretch of the imagination. He certainly has the effort, the hustle to get in there, but even though he's a big guy, he's not Zach McCloud big. He's not Bradley Jennings Jr. big. He might be as big as Sam Brooks, but Sam's a true freshman. He's 18. The kid's going to fill out, and he's going to be much bigger. And I think that Amari's he's hit his peak. I don't think he can get much bigger than he is. So he's going to get pushed around a lot by offensive linemen if he has to play that close to the line every snap. But if we're playing spread and we're going against these teams who like these, air raid sort of offenses, absolutely put him out there in that position.
Yeah. Well, we're going to face more air raids than we are running offenses in the future. This way.
Oh, especially the next 3 games, absolutely.
So moving on to the cornerbacks, shouts my boy to Corey Couch. We called it since day one. He's the best cornerback on the team. He needs to play more. He balled.
It's crazy to me that we dropped a guy who maybe he's not as good as Corey Couch, but we don't know. And we dropped him because of size, because he's a 3-star, and because he's undersized for the corners we like to get. Size has nothing to do with it, in my opinion. Also, pound for pound, the guy's clearly our best corner. And he has been from day one. The things that I was worried about with Corey was his man coverage, like on slants and like quick side to side movement, because he got beat on a couple of those early on before he kind of got his feet under him. Now he's much better with that. He's always been great at covering the deep ball. From day one, when he got out there for like 3 snaps, he covered a deep ball perfectly, and perfect technique, look back for the ball, which our other corners can't do for some reason. So he's clearly on another level in terms of talent and skill level right out the gate, just right from where he is now. And he's a sophomore, so he's only going to improve as he goes up in time. Um, and so why aren't we trying to get more guys like him? In my opinion, we should have 5 of those guys, and if only 3 of them pan out, well, shit, I would love to have an entire secondary of Corey Couches. That would be great for me.
Yeah, size shouldn't be an issue. I think we're both pretty bummed about Tim Burns, but we'll have to see what the real reasoning that we dropped him for. It might be for another player. So, but the rest of the corners, man, like Blades, I love the dude, but he is just really disappointing his play this year, and I don't get it. He was one of the top rated cornerbacks. I forget what stat it was with Okuda last year. I think it was like QB percentage on passes, but you think by now he would like learn. He's a
What's
vet.
crazy, it's crazy to me because, and I was discussing this on Twitter, between 7 and 8, between Blades and Ivy, they're trending in opposite directions, and not just in their play, like overall, okay, he's giving up passes, he's not, but literally their technique is going opposite of each other. At the beginning against UAB, I watched Blades play his man, turn around for the ball, pinpoint it, almost get a pick against UAB. He did that against, the first few games that we played. He was turning his head, he was on top of it, he was playing the position well. Ivy was doing the same exact thing, but wasn't turning his head. So he was getting beat, he was getting flagged. All of this stuff was bad because he didn't know when to turn his head. He didn't have the feel for it, didn't have the confidence to just turn his head and try and make a play. Instead, he'd rather take the 15-yard penalty on pass interference than lose sight of his guy and get beat deep. And so he looked terrible at the beginning of the season. Well, now Ivy, by and large, is trying to do that. He's turning his head. He's at least spotting the ball and making a play. He hasn't like lit up, but he is, in position to make a play and do a good job. And now Blades is the one who just won't freaking turn around most of the time.
Yeah, that's what frustrates me, man, because Blades is a smart guy, and he's a committed guy, so it doesn't make any sense.
I just don't understand how he knew how to do it earlier in the season and now he doesn't, right? Like, how do you lose your sense of timing, your feel for when to turn? And so Steve-O, who I was talking to on Twitter, guy does amazing breakdowns, all this film. He was pulling stuff out from when Blades was in high school and wouldn't turn around. If he wasn't comfortable, he does not turn around on the ball, even though he's in great position. And if you can't turn around, you can't make a play. If you don't see it, they don't have eyes in the back of your head, you can't make a play on the ball. It's impossible. So it's crazy to me that they got Blades in the right mindset doing that last year and definitely earlier this year, and literally throughout the course of the season, he's regressed in his technique. It's not like he's it's not a hustle thing. It's just literally he's not doing all the stuff that he was good at doing and proved that he could do well earlier in the season. And then Ivy figured it out and is doing fine, so he gets the start over Blades because Corey Couch has to be on the field. Now it's clear you got to have that guy on the field. I don't know, man. There's so many issues that I have with our secondary right now. I really do think it stems from the top down. I guess, we can throw Rumpf in there too as to why these guys are not staying at the same level that they were, or if they're improving, why are you letting everybody else slide? But whatever. It bothers me to no end that Blake Baker called to Corey Couch a chihuahua.
Yeah.
It bothers me to no end that, based purely on looking at these guys, just how tall they are, that they give the nod to Blades and to Ivy. It blows my mind that you would go out there and make a comment like that. And of course, then again, somebody decided to drop Tim Burns. Maybe Tim decided to decommit himself. I don't believe it for a second. It just bothers me that, you're going out with these guys who, again, physically they're bigger, they're taller. They're not playing well enough. And if they're not improving their play week to week, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, we watched the game we watched. I could see how Blades and Ivy would be very good if we played man press all the time.
Yeah.
Except when they get beat, once the people get behind them, they don't turn back. So that's a huge flaw. That's why I guess we play zone instead. But even then, they're not quick enough to come up and rally up to stop passes against a soft zone. So it's like, what are you doing, man? It just blows my mind. It makes no sense. I think they're perfect cover 2 corners. We don't play cover 2 like that. We don't play press cover 2 as a general rule. We don't make these guys come up and make tackles. We have them just play soft zone, don't get beat deep. That's all they care about. It's probably why the guys aren't looking behind them. They're worried about getting beat deep. It just philosophy-wise makes no sense.
So they released the depth chart yesterday. Corey's actually starting over Blades for the next game when we play him on December 5th, hopefully. But Blake Baker needs to improve. Like, I don't know. He acts like a clown in his press conferences. You saw the thing the other day where he was joking about how he's more entertaining, that he lets up 40 points. It's like, come on, dude, that's not funny.
Yeah, he said he hopes he gets a bonus from ESPN or the ACC network, for basically for keeping it close in the fourth quarter. And it's like, he's really bad at reading the room, man. Manny says the right things, right? Which is Baker did a great job calling blitzes in the fourth quarter. It doesn't mean that it was Baker's idea to call those blitzes, but Manny said, you need to call blitzes, and he called blitzes, and hey, they worked. So cool. He said the right thing, didn't throw his boy under the bus. And then he also says players deserve all the credit. They're the ones who went out there and won us the game. And Baker's out there calling his best player a chihuahua. I
hate it.
He is not doing a good job of.
And you'd think that maybe Manny would just pull him aside, dude, can you stop saying these ridiculous comments?
He probably tells him that, but I'm sure Baker doesn't think that it's inflammatory. He doesn't think that he's going to piss people off by saying that because everybody's excited. We're 7-1. Yeah, we are. We're glad that we're 7-1. We just know that we could have won a lot of these games by a lot of points, or at least been in control the whole game, and we were not at all. So at least Lashley says that's on me and I need to get better. Baker's just like, hey, football is fun, right? It's not easy, but it's fun. Like, come on, dude.
You know who Baker sounds like, man? He sounds like Enos last year.
I have seen a lot of comparisons. I happen to agree with them. Enos didn't know Manny before he got hired, so that's Baker's only saving grace right now. I really hope that Manny takes a good, long look at who else is out there. Do me a favor, don't hire Muschamp. Just don't do it. I know he's a good defensive coordinator, all that. Fuck that guy. I do not want him on the Canes. I also think Muschamp would never go and be a coordinator for Manny Diaz. I don't think he'll ever stoop to that level. But Manny, don't even consider it.
He'll probably go to Alabama and be one of Saban's new coaching assistants. That he always does.
Probably, but go find another up-and-coming defensive coordinator, similar to where Lashley is now as an offensive coordinator. Go find, who's coaching the defense at Syracuse? Because those motherfuckers get turnovers. I think that they've now, after the season, they'll have passed us with the most turnovers since 2017. And that's because of Baker.
Yeah.
That's 100% because I've been doing the stats trying to calculate them, but Syracuse has got 15 turnovers this year. I think we've got 11, and the most in the country is 17, something like that. And so we're on pace to get 20 turnovers this year. Actually, maybe a little less now, which is the least amount we've had since Manny was the defensive coordinator, since before Manny, basically. And so Syracuse every year puts up numbers on defense. I would love to get their coordinator in here. If his mindset is go get turnovers, let's go get turnovers. Let's fucking do it. I would love to see someone with that kind of mindset, that kind of defense, come to Miami and bring that aggressiveness. I think it would make a huge difference for our program. I'm glad that we're getting great defensive talent to go out there because they do get to individually showcase their skills, because you have to put the team on your back, Jalen Phillips, in order for this defense to move. I get it. But if you were part of a defense that was aggressive as hell and on par with the greats, when Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all of them were balling out. Wouldn't you want to be a part of that instead? Be a part of the most aggressive defense in the freaking known to man? Then it won't matter if we give up stupid penalties because we'll still sack the guy 5 times in a row. It's fine. Like, I understand Bubba's frustration. I understand Bubba Bolden's frustration. So I don't appreciate what he's doing while he's doing it, but I understand it, and I don't see that fire from the D-backs, the cornerbacks, except for Couch.
Yeah, so talking about the safeties, like Bubba Bolden, man, it's frustrating as you said, and it's just weird. He's like it's like Blades. He's gotten worse over the course of the season, like making dumb penalties. Like even his boy Jalen, after he made that penalty, was like, "Yo, what was with that, man?"
I don't even know what happened. So I feel like
we didn't see it. ESPN didn't even show what happened, so we had no idea. We were watching it. I haven't seen anything on Twitter since any explanation.
Right. So I don't know if it was a frame up job on Bubba. He definitely got screwed earlier in the game on defensive pass interference. My man jumped the route and was waiting for the pass, and the pass was so bad from Hooker. It literally started quacking as it left his hand that they couldn't determine whether Jalen actually tipped the ball because it was so bad coming out that it already looked like shit before it got near him. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being 3 yards away from Bubba or the receiver, and they called pass interference on him because he interfered with the receiver's progress. It's like they were looking to screw Miami up at Blacksburg. They absolutely were. And it's been a thing all season. My thing is that over the past couple of games, Bubba's had like 3 or 4 tackles. Like, he just has not been involved. When he gets involved in the play, it's way later. And to me, that is 100% on scheme. You start a guy who loves playing close to the line 15 yards away from the ball every play. You think he's going to get a little frustrated? I certainly understand that. And I liked playing free safety. I liked being 15 yards back because it allowed me to see the field and react to it and just basically, be in the right position for deep passes. But otherwise, they literally had to get through 10 other players on the running play before I would get involved.
Yeah.
If Bubba Bolden's getting involved on a running play, it's because bad shit happened. Like on that touchdown run where Sam went way out of position and Bubba wasn't ready for it and was flat-footed and wasn't able to make the big stop because it shouldn't have gotten to that point. There were 10 other people who should have made that fucking play, but Bubba's the one who looks bad because he's the last one to miss. And so I get it. Having played free safety, I totally understand the position he's in, but I'm telling you what, Bubba Bolden is not a free safety. And we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. The man is not a free safety. He doesn't like playing free safety. He loved it earlier in the year when we were moving. They literally did a stat on it against Louisville. They were talking about all the different spots in the field he got to play. He got to line up here. He got to line up there. He got to be close to the line, further back, up and down. And after Clemson, he basically got taken out. He was 15 yards back for the rest of time. And it just, I don't know, man. If our cornerbacks get torched, they get torched. But don't let them waste away in the fucking, underworld out in left field, basically, for no reason. Yeah,
the whole scheme is messed up. I don't know what the deal is. Like, so is Gervin the strong safety?
They rotate. We play a cover 2. So every time, if you watch the film, depending on where the strength of the play is, they will rotate one or the other. But most of the time, Bubba is the furthest one back. If they don't move and they say the strong side's to the left, from what I can tell, Gervin is in the screen at 12 yards, and Bubba's not even on screen. He is 15 yards back off the line at the start of every play.
I noticed that.
Yeah, it's insane to me, but it is exactly how we play because we don't want anyone getting behind us. It's not like we have these athletes who can run really fast. Literally part of the reason why we're drafting these guys is because they are so athletic and fast and everything else.
Yeah.
Apparently that doesn't matter. So, I don't know, man. I don't remember since Clemson. I don't think he's lined up within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And against Louisville, he was guarding their best fucking guy. And I know that bothered you, but at least they trusted him enough to say, go up there and make a play. And he did. He did a great job.
Yeah.
Like, he really did. I just,
So
it's just very.
we'll move on to the offense. I got to credit Derek King. I questioned his consistency with the deep ball passes all year, and he's proved me wrong, which I'm happy about. And it's the difference in having a solid quarterback is showing right now.
Yeah, more than solid. The only thing that I can say, Derek, please come back next year. Please work on your game, especially throwing on the run. He scrambles so much, and he's so good at running out of the pocket.
Yeah.
But if they start doing the thing where they basically start to blitz and then back up and they just basically wait for him to run, if he can throw on the run accurately, he's going to look like a shorter Patrick Mahomes out there, making all sorts of shit happen because those plays are open. Once everything breaks down and you scramble, people get open. But if they know you're not going to make that play on the run, that throw on the run, they're coming hard to hit you. And if he can improve that part, I don't see a flaw in his game. I just don't see it. He's much better now at realizing that the line is not going to hold up, so he's not trying to make passes under duress where he's not stepping into it. He's either, I'm going to step into this pass deep, or I'm running. He bails out sooner. He makes decisions faster. And so even though he still got sacked quite a bit, had a lot of pressure on him all day, he's not leading to bad passes downfield. Really. Not they aren't bad passes down. The freaking dime he threw to Wiggins.
Unbelievable.
It was so good. Right in the cover 2 soft spot. It was so fucking good. And then followed up immediately with RPO, where he read that they were on the run. So then he went to pass. No, I'm bailing out. Bye. So good. It is just you can't expect anything better from your quarterback in that situation.
And great point about the rollout passing, because I've noticed that too. And I think a better comparison, if you can figure that out, would be Russell Wilson, So
yeah, I mean, Russ, when his senior year graduated, he took his time to get to the NFL so that he could get drafted 3rd round instead of 6th or 7th. And so I hope they certainly seem to have similar approaches to the game. I really hope that Derek wants to be like Russ and take that extra time to get there. Because, it's very similar. Russ was NC State forever and then went to Wisconsin for his senior year, and that's when he came to prominence, and they took him in the 3rd round with the Seahawks. But he was too short to play, and he's a fucking baller. That's just – there's no other way about it. But he took the extra – he went 5 years in order to do that. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I agree with you, man. We'll have to see if he comes back next year, but that's another conversation for another time. Moving on to the running backs. Don Chaney, man, I wish he could honestly start at this point.
But they all did well. There was not – we averaged – so just for the stats, we averaged 2.7 yards a carry as a team, but each of the running backs averaged 3.1, 3.9, 4.5 yards a carry. And Chaney was the one who was at 3.1. His average was not that high. He still did fine. Obviously, it's Chaney. He gets the ball and he creates yards after contact. It's phenomenal. He's going to be a great running back.
Mm-hmm.
Not just this year, next 2-3 years. He's going to be a great running back, and to have Knighton with him is phenomenal. I thought we kept Chaney out there for plays that, I guess we're trying to, reward the hot hand because he got a good drive going. But we were trying to do passes to him. The guy had, surgery on his arm. I'm not expecting him to be that great at picking up passes in traffic and stuff like that. He's a bruiser, Yeah, I guess you could, pull the Adam Gase thing of, here, Frank Gore, run a wheel route and we'll throw it to you 20 yards down the field. But that's not what Frank Gore is there for.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tank. You give him the ball to run it. You don't try and toss it to him in space, especially when you have Jalen Knighton on the team. This doesn't make any sense. So I felt like Chaney had a worse game, but not really because of his own fault, because he was put in some subpar situations. But like I said, the other guys did great. Jalen Knighton, 3.9 yards a carry. Cam Harris, 4.5 yards and a touchdown. And he didn't really seem that intense. He wasn't trying to initiate contact like he was in the week before. But he still, half the game, the first half, he seemed tentative. And then the second half, he was like, give me the ball. That's how he scored that touchdown from 10 or 7 yards out, 7 or 10 yards out, is he didn't hesitate. He saw the hole and he took it, and then he went right through the tackler on the goal line and scored the touchdown. I mean, could they have done better? Absolutely. Am I disappointed by any of those guys? Absolutely not. We've seen worse, and our offensive line was dreadful all game.
Yeah.
Not top to bottom, but basically from first quarter to fourth quarter, they were not good. So, as a unit.
They definitely weren't good. The only thing about Cam, I don't like hating on Cam, but his vision just frustrates me sometimes. But you brought up a good point about I feel like Lashley doesn't – I'm frustrated with Lashley because I know I've seen Lashley at his best, but sometimes his play calling is just very frustrating, especially his early down play calling. And he puts us in third down longs because he always rushes on first down or makes a dumb passing call on first down. Then if they don't make it, then if they don't make the pass, they do a second down that gets stopped, so we're in third down and long. I just want to see more consistency from Lashley, and I know he opened up. He said that it was his bad, but it's been a couple weeks now where we scored a lot of points last game, but still some of the play calling was frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to the O-lineman, like you said, they had a terrible game, especially Scaife. He was terrible. I don't ever want to see him play again. But at least we have a couple weeks now. Navon Donaldson can come back, and we maybe see some more playing time or playing time in general for Jalen Rivers. So
I don't even know, has Rivers been out there? Because I haven't noticed him.
He hasn't played. I don't think he's played, but I'm saying I think they're trying to work him in. He might have gotten a couple of snaps, but he definitely hasn't gotten any serious time, I don't think.
Right. So, yeah, what I'll say for Lashley is, yes, he definitely can do better. And the good thing about him is that he's the first one to acknowledge it. So I do think we're going to see better from him. It is hard when you know that your offensive line is spotty at best. And like I said, when they were playing as a unit early in the season, even if they were failing together, right? There was cohesion. They were trying to communicate. They never got beyond that level, and now the cohesion's starting to break down. Like, they didn't start communicating more. It was like, oh, that we communicate good enough. And so the team's figured out that if you run stunts and you run all this other stuff at them, that they won't be able to pick it up because they don't communicate more than this level, this baseline level.
Mm-hmm.
And
Diaz searching for answers on the side.
Just watching all the clips again. That pass to Pope. Oh, we'll get there. But so knowing that as an offensive coordinator, if I were an offensive coordinator, knowing that my line is just they're not taking the progression. They're not getting better than what we are.
Really? Has worked well for them.
Hopefully it'll stop playing this time. I don't even know why it auto plays. Fucking ESPN.
Well, at least you guys know we do our research, so.
Always. But yeah, ESPN just wants to show me the game again. That's nice. Thank you. My issue is that if you know that your offensive line is not going to be consistent, if they were just good at run blocking, then you just run, right? If they were just good at pass blocking, then you pass more. I honestly feel like with how bad Scaife was, we should have passed the ball less. We threw the ball 38 times, and he took plenty of sacks. So we threw like 40-something times. And I know we ran like a ton of plays. I think it was like 85 plays on offense, on paper, that's what Brett Lashley wants. He wants to run a shit ton of plays in quick succession so the defense is completely gassed. Did that happen? No, there were tons of 3-and-outs interspersed with long-ass drives, 10-plus drives, with fake field goals and a bunch of bullshit at the end that didn't help us out any, which, I don't think that's Lashley's fault. But so my thing is, if you know how bad Scaife is doing by the second half, the first half, the dude just let a guy go. I get like he expected there was help there. You let the man go. You barely touched him. That doesn't make any. There's nobody else there. It's not like there was somebody else blitzing. They blitzed 3, and he came right through the fucking line past you, and you saw there was nobody else to touch. Like and then he stood. Like he turned around and was just like, oh man, like
It's like
make it.
It's like a Pee-wee football move, and he could have gotten King killed there.
On multiple plays. It wasn't just that one. It was all day. But, like, if I'm Lashley, first of all, yeah, as the coordinator, I think it's your job to pull the guy. But it's also hard when we've got Justice there, Coach Justice. You'd be like, Justice, you need it. I mean, at that point, I think Justice needs to step up and be like, DJ, you need to take a seat. Like, we need to get your head right. You're not seeing the field at all. The cleanest pocket all day we saw, I think it was the dime to Wiggins. But the reason they blitzed 4, and the only guy who didn't block anybody, didn't have anybody to block, was Scaife. And our line held and was a completely clean pocket. Like, that's just such a bad indictment on Scaife. Or he's been playing all season. So I know at some point he was playing better. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But at that point, you got to pull him. Pull him in the second half. It's okay. Like, you got to try someone else. But knowing that, I don't know what else. I guess it'd be tough. Like, I look at it and go, okay, if you can't run the ball on first down because you don't have an offensive line, then you try to pass on first down. And if that gets incomplete for whatever reason, now you're looking at 2nd and 10. And now what do? Do you run the ball then? So that's 3rd and long, but it's like 3rd and 8 instead of 3rd and 10? No, you probably pass again, and then you end up with 3rd and 10. And now you're kind of fucked. I don't know as Lashley how else I can work around that without. I mean, at least he's gone away from those stupid screens every other drive.
Yeah.
I mean, he stopped trying to just throw rocket screen, which is what he did earlier in the season to try and fix that, and it didn't work. At least he went away from that now. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's so hard if you don't have a high quality offensive line to really do things. And that's what's been impressive about this offense is that he's made it happen, or really King has made it happen anyway. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, our running backs actually did quite a good job of running the ball as a unit. So, but I think they had 30 rushing attempts for the whole game, and we threw the ball technically 38 times. We actually threw the ball, but there was a bunch of other ones where King ran for his life or got sacked. And there was all called running plays for King too. And he had like 18 for the game. So I get it. You may not like it, but I would say the only way to make that better is if we run the ball more, not less, because I just don't know what else our options are. Because, like I said, 3-man blitz gets to the quarterback without even being touched. I don't know what you're supposed to do about that.
Okay,
you can't. So I think the offensive line, I do think Coach Justice is a good coach. I think that they need to pull the plug on guys earlier when they're having bad games, because we'll get on them on here, on Twitter, but King's the one you need to protect. He is the most important person on the freaking team. So you got to pull these guys earlier and say, if you just don't have it, you can try again next week, or you can pick it back up at practice, but their stakes are too high to lose our quarterback because you just don't have your head in the game and you're just not blocking anybody.
Well, we were missing a couple of guys on the O-line, including John Campbell. So
yeah, that made a huge difference.
I don't know how much depth. They're not going to put like a freshman out there in like the middle of the game, but I definitely agree with you though. But the tight ends, not too much to say, but I wish that Lashley with the scheme would use them more. Like besides like the little out routes to Mallory, I think they were trying to ease Brevin back in from his injury. I think that's probably the most what happened. But even that, I just like Mallory's good, man, and we'll get into the wide receivers in a minute, and they finished off the game strong, but in the first half they weren't doing anything, and like that's where like they could have used Mallory more,
Yeah, absolutely. it's almost like he only has so many passes for tight ends in a game, and he's done better with that. But that was also when Brevin was hurt, so then Mallory was getting 4 or 5 passes a game. The two of them got about, I think, 6 or 7 total out of 38. Not great. It's throw the ball to Will Mallory. I guess that's probably a good starting point. If you throw the ball to Will Mallory and you say, wow, we have to account for their backup tight end, everyone gets better, especially Brevin Jordan. Like, they don't do them interchangeably. They're both on the field most of the time, and Mallory's trying to block and also go out for passes, and he kind of does basically what a fullback would do for us, and that's perfect. I love it. Just do it more. Do it early. Do it often. I mean, instead they did the trick play early to get to Brevin Jordan, which was kind of cool. I didn't love how that play was designed, like top to bottom, but I liked that the focus was Brevin Jordan, and because of the reverse, toss back, it allowed Brevin to get downfield. But the dude is so fast. You could have actually, that was where we had good pass blocking because they were expecting a reverse. So everyone on Virginia Tech's front seven stopped. They just stopped and were like, what the fuck is going on? Brevin's fast enough, he would have run by everybody. That one, it's like king. If you just wait like half a second more and full load it, that shit's a touchdown. Like, instead he bulleted it, past 2 defenders to get it to Brevin, and that was great. But we got 15 yards on that play. You don't do a reverse pass for 15 yards. You do it for 50 yards and you touchdown. It's a home run play. So I get the idea behind the play call. I didn't think it was necessary to get Brevin back into the mix. It's Brevin Jordan.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing is sometimes I think, especially with the tight ends, Lashley has never had tight ends this good before. I think he overthinks how to use them, how to integrate them. He feels like he's got to be fancy, and I don't know.
This is sort of frustrating for me. Like, Kyle Pitts is really good, but you can see how much they use him. And not saying that, like, Brevin and Mallory are not Kyle Pitts. They're different players. I don't think Brevin's Kyle Pitts is number 1 tight end, but I don't think Brevin's that far off when he's on his game. But it's just like I said, like, I wish it's frustrating having 2 of the best tight ends in the nation and they barely get any targets or are used at all. But
yeah, well, and
I mean, I guess it comes down to the scheme, like you said earlier, that we can't pass as much because our O-line stinks.
But that's a big deal. I think the number one thing is that the philosophy I think it's pretty clear. The philosophy for our offense is to run a ton of plays, spread the ball out so you don't know where it's going, so it has to be balanced and hard hitting. And so it's like, yeah, so I don't know. It's like, it's not feed only Brevin Jordan, only Will Mallory, because we're not Florida. That's just not what we do. We don't just highlight one person and say, here, dump. You get all the things.
Yeah, I mean, I get you're definitely right on that with like the play speed and stuff. But you've seen every time we win by a lot, it's when Mallory or Brevin have a big game. And like, I'm not saying force feed them, but I'm saying just use them a little more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when they're scoring touchdowns, we do great, and neither of them did. They did good, but they didn't do great. They both had a couple catches, 20 yards apiece, and none of those were in the red zone. So, yeah.
You got to especially use them more in the red zone. So, wide receivers, congrats. You proved us again wrong again. I would like to see more consistency with playing well in the first half. But, yeah, you guys, Harley and Pope. Even Wiggins had that sick play, and hats off to them.
He showed up. Wiggins to me gets I wouldn't say the game ball, but the Unsung Hero award. If we're going to do that every week, Unsung Hero for this past week, Wiggins had 100-yard game off 8 catches. I don't even know
when the last time we've had a 100-yard receiver.
Well, I mean, Harley, mostly Harley.
Did Harley have one last week?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay,
well,
before that, it's been a while.
No, I know. Before Harley broke out, Harley broke out, no, we didn't have a 100-yard receiver.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wiggins had. I saw it on Twitter, but I will steal it. the quietest 100-yard receiving game you will ever see in your freaking
I did not notice until the stat line at the end that he had a 100-yard game. Like he had some big plays, obviously, that I saw, but I thought he was like off from the eye test, maybe like 60 yards, but 100 yards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because he had good chunk plays and he caught the stuff like the short stuff. He was running, stops. He was running slants. I don't think he had any drops this past week, which Pope did. So it was good to see Wiggins.
He didn't have any drops, but he had like a couple plays where like his classic where like he didn't fight for the ball. That's it.
Yep. And that is always going to be a problem with him. Part of it is just the way he runs. He makes it seem like he's not running that fast when he is running full speed. So it always seems like he has the ability to come back to the ball. And I mean, if that man's running at 75% speed, then he better turn it to 100 and just Devin Hester everybody off the field, because
he runs like a deer.
He runs like a deer. He runs like a deer, and he's just kind of like doing his thing. And here I'm running my route, and oh look, I'm 50 yards downfield, and nobody even realized it. But that means it looks like he's not putting in any effort when he's coming back to the ball or not coming back to the ball. Pope definitely runs like he's got someplace to go. Sometimes I think that's what his problem is. He doesn't hold on to the ball because he's so like, I don't even know, like Noodles. Running man.
His nickname, Noodles.
Yeah, Noodles. Yeah, he looks like just a little, like a skinny running man out there trying to get going.
He looks like the Spaghetti-O fucking, the cover of a Spaghetti-O thing.
Yeah, so he had the big drop on earlier in the game. He literally ran the slant route, the RPO. It was open. It wasn't wide open, but he had his man beat by a step, got hit in stride, dropped it. Because he started running upfield before because he knew he had a fucking touchdown. Okay. When he did it in the fourth quarter and didn't drop it, I'll take that every fucking time. I will take a drop in the first quarter if it means you run the same exact play later and you understood what you needed to do differently and you fucking take it to the end zone. I'm okay with that. I'm not great with it. Again, 5-star recruit, on and on. But they are producing every week and they are getting less and less drops. They're making less and less mistakes. And that's really all you can ask for. I don't think they're going to get much better than they already are. I'm okay with that, but
yeah, I'm okay with that. I just want to see like them stay at this level and not go back. But I think they will because it's all, as we said before, it's all mental with these guys, and it's definitely Pope has more confidence in himself. So this is like the best. It's as just like there was always a confidence issue with him. Like he needs to get on fire to like keep going, or else he just gets nervous and loses all of his confidence. So I think he'll be all right with him.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. If this is our ceiling for our receivers, I love it. Let's stay as close to it as we can for the rest of the season, and we can bump up. Like I said, really the tight ends is the number one place for production, and that comes from our offensive line, in my opinion. And like you said, if the receivers can stay consistent like this, then that will give more opportunities to the tight ends. Because in the Clemson game, they didn't let us do anything with them. That's true. Well, and the other part of it is, if you got to drop Will Mallory back to block because people like Scaife just can't do it, they're never going to get any passes.
Yeah.
It is unfortunately you gotta get extra protection from somewhere, and if it's not going to be the offensive line, it's going to be the tight ends, and they're going to be stuck. And same with the running backs. You're not going to get any catches by the running backs. Actually, we had 0 catches by the running backs this past Saturday, and I think it's because they had to stay in and block the whole time. And I mean the whole time. Like if they weren't running the ball, they had to stay in and block, except when we did play action, tried to throw it on the goal line to, 2-point conversion to Chaney. So, I am really excited. Been seeing a lot of good film on our offensive line recruits.
Mm-hmm. I love our recruits.
Oh man,
yeah, it's gonna be a big change, especially when we get Jalen Rivers up to speed, and then we also have Isaiah Walker too. So
yeah, it's going to be awesome. So let's see if we get 3 more games. I know you're going to talk about the COVID thing. So, but if we've got it, I want to see our team complete the transition. If we get a full, complete game before the end of the year against someone that normally we would take for granted or whatever, to me, transformation is complete. I'm okay with ending the season there. I don't want it to, but I'm okay with it. It just, we never got a complete game. So
just touch on the special teams lately. Same thing every week. They're the best unit on our team. Besides Derek King, Lou Headley is arguably the MVP of the team. Awesome dude. Like you pointed out when we were watching the game that he knew that he was almost about to get a kick block, so he didn't do his usual go to the side and punt it.
Right.
And the field position was how we won the game pretty much.
Absolutely. He kicks a punt that lands inside the 5-yard line in the fourth quarter, and that's ball game.
Yeah.
I mean, it basically made it impossible for Virginia Tech to advance far enough down the field for their own game-winning field goal. And they got a kicker with some legs, so he could have tried it from pretty far out, but by pinning them inside the 5-yard line when it mattered most, that's ball game right there. It forced them into really bad positions, which is why we were able to shut them down and stuff. We still got called for stupid penalties and shit, which is fair. I mean, we weren't disciplined at the end there on defense. It all starts with special teams in terms of finishing things off, which is we got the best combo. That's all there is to it. Headley's coming back next year. I can't wait. The fact that he got 15 yards for shoving someone for touching Borregales.
I didn't care. I love it.
Oh, I fucking love. No, I keep posting and being like, I love it. That's what makes him the greatest punter we may have ever had, other than maybe Bosher, because of a punter who's willing to get physical and get in the face of people and talk shit and stand up for himself and his team. It's great. It's phenomenal because the biggest thing is if somebody ever actually runs into him while he's punting and actually hits him and he falls, the refs are going to flag it every time because it's not it's a punter who's just looking for contact. It's like that guy just got flagged for 15 yards for shoving a defensive lineman earlier. Now he's on the ground. We're flagging you. Like it adds so much weight to what you do out there. So I still can't believe we didn't use Headley to run the fake punt. It's the only thing I'll say about special teams.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, Manny will learn from this, and when you have the best kicker in the game, don't do a fake in the first quarter and just take the points.
Yeah, but if you are going to do a fake, don't let the little guy who the guy is next to him is 6'4", 220, 6'4", 220 pounds, tatted from head to toe, muscle. Let him run the ball. Just by leaning forward, he gets 2 yards. You only needed 3. Fuck.
Yeah, that would make me so excited to see him run the ball once.
Yeah. God, I want him to do kickoffs, but Borregales has a bigger leg, but Headley running down the field to make a special teams tackle, guys will fall over on their own. They'll be like, nope, I'm good.
So yeah, last quick bit before we head out. News dropped yesterday that the next 3 games are all rescheduled due to COVID. We knew that we had 13 players out last game. We've had players out for the past few or 4 games. But yeah, it is what it is. It stinks, but at least I can save myself a heart attack this weekend. Take a weekend off from that. And that, like you said earlier, hopefully they'll come back. And I think I'm just gonna stay optimistic, and I think they will. But if it ends up being 7-1, hey, we're still got our all of our top recruits, and it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yeah,
I think if we look at our recruiting, whoever we dropped Tim Burns for, we need to get him in the next 2 weeks. That's all I can really say about it. We should be seeing commits from 2 big times cornerbacks in the next 2 weeks, because otherwise, if we don't end the season, because I think we have now 22 recruits instead of 23. We have 3 spots left.
Yeah.
Okay. I think so. It's either 3 or 4 spots. If we don't have...
Not many for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we have a good class. I get it. But, I think we only have 3 scholarships left to give out, which is part of the reason why I think Tim decided to, take a step back. Either because he decided or Miami, I don't know, whatever. It was a PR nightmare. The point is, if we don't end up with 3 cornerback recruits committing before Thanksgiving, then I just don't see it happening. I mean, yeah, we have until December technically, I think, for signing day, but dude, there has to be a good reason for it if we want to see really our defense take the next step. If we're afraid of the deep ball because we don't have the recruits that we think can go out and cover the deep ball, then we're always going to have the same defense. I just don't see, certainly while Baker's here, I don't see him changing his ways and deciding to blitz first quarter through fourth quarter because he's expecting to get burned deep on the fucking pass.
Yeah,
So,
and Rump stinks. You know, I always talk shit about him. I just want him gone in general. But one thing is, he always does get a cornerback recruit like on the last minute on signing day. So he probably will get one by then. A lot of people have their eyes on Marquis Brown from IMG, who I personally like a lot. But yeah, we'll see.
He plays right up here, so right where I live.
Yep.
He's in IMG, is right in Bradenton. I'm in Sarasota. It's one town over. So anybody from IMG is going to be well trained. Whether it translates to the next level or not is a different story. But I definitely will never have an issue with picking up an IMG recruit. I just, in terms of raw talent, those kids play sports like 75% of their day. So he's definitely got the training to show up. So the question is, how much raw talent does he have for Rump to develop or not develop?
Yeah, we'll see, man. So yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't expect anything by like the next couple of weeks, but it's definitely going to rev up more, especially because no one's going to know what how's going on with this COVID thing. So players are going to recruits are going to keep an eye on that. So, next week, since there's no games next week, we'll be doing a little bit of a recruiting show. Big playoff game in Florida this weekend. Northwestern versus American Heritage. A lot of Miami recruits. James Williams, Romello Brinson, Cameron Kinchins. All those guys, Phil Brantley, and Tim Burns, who we dropped. But it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Probably be the only game on, so definitely check it out. And I think that we will, if nothing else, in the next 2 weeks, I think we'll be able to really dial in on our analysis of the incoming class and also just things that hopefully the team is doing on the super bye. I mean, if we were already worried about bye weeks before, we now have a super bye week. Yeah. So, hopefully Manny's figured out how to break it and can go 2-0, 2-1 out of bye weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. And Wake Forest is pretty good. Their quarterback is pretty good.
Oh yeah, their quarterback's great. Wake Forest has 1 turnover this year against them.
Yeah, it sort of stinks. So I would because they moved Georgia Tech to the last game, and I would rather play them versus Wake Forest off a bye week. But
that's the way COVID crumbles, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, if that anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that's about it, man. Stay well.
Stay well. Stay safe, guys. Be sure to check out all the blogs on Pro Sports Extra and take a look at Spiked. Rob has another podcast on that. And we'll catch you next time, guys. Peace.